Hello and welcome to the Talk Football Podcast. I'm your host Hodgie, and yes, it has been a long while. Apologies for that. So let me explain a little bit on that. Obviously, we haven't put an episode out since November. In that time, over the past 6-7 months, etc., moving house, moving to a new garage location on my job, my day job as a bus driver. Some of you are aware. So I've not had the time really to do it, and I was kind of torn whether or not I was going to carry on with it. But thanks to all the people on the social platforms, they've persuaded me to carry on. So I thought I'd finish out the season 3, albeit not many episodes in season 3, but I thought I'd finish it out with talking about my club, Chelsea. And it's been an eventful season, and it's been a strange season in many ways because, with the World Cup in the middle, I felt like the season was completely disjointed, and I kind of fell out of love with football a little bit. So that's kind of where I've been at with it, and I just don't feel I've had the effort and time to come on and do and carry on podcasting. But I have been persuaded to crack on, come back stronger. There's an exciting new season ahead. And so today I'm going to talk about Chelsea. I'm flying solo. I've got no one with me other than the viewers on TikTok, and because we are live on there as well, so I can take any questions if you've got questions about Chelsea signings, etc. So I'm going to kick off. I'm going to talk about the managers first because obviously the season started off with Thomas, and I was gutted to see Thomas go. We'd won the Champions League, although towards the end of the previous season, the form hadn't been great, and you could see that there were some sort of cracks in the squad already, which obviously started playing out across the season we've just had. I didn't think it was the right decision to let Thomas go, in my opinion. I think he's an absolute top-class coach, but the board wanted to go in a different direction, a new board, with the sale of the club, Todd and the rest of the groups that own us, they wanted to go in a different direction. So I didn't get it, I didn't agree with it, but it is what it is. So in comes Potter. Now, he was, out of people that were being mentioned around the time, he was my choice. I thought he'd done amazing with Brighton, to get Brighton to where they were, limited budget, etc. I think he'd done a phenomenal job. And it started off okay. It actually started off okay. I think we went something like 6-7 games unbeaten at the start of the season. So it was a case of okay, I could see where we're going with this. We were creating lots of chances, and we actually continued creating lots of chances throughout the whole of the season, even when results were going bad. But we couldn't put anything away, and because we couldn't put anything away, teams very quickly worked out that they didn't really have to fear us, and we looked fragile at the back, and Potter paid the price for that. I think maybe I probably pulled the trigger on Potter too soon, but you could clearly see dressing room had gone, and then the board obviously made its decision. Frank came in. Well, we had Bruno Salta for a couple of games, but then Frank came in towards the end of the season, which yet again, I know a lot of Chelsea fans would probably disagree. I think it was the right thing to do. The season was dead anyway. We weren't really going to go anywhere with the season. Top 4 was never going to be in reach for us, so I think it was the right call. Bring Frank back, a familiar face. I think if you'd have brought in another manager, even a short-term, a high-profile manager, and that manager had turned things around and done well, there would have been maybe a clamour for them to stay. And I think that would have, yet again, I think my opinion, would have been going down the wrong road. I think, bringing Frank in, agreed with that. And now, of course, we've appointed Poch. And I know my very good friend and regular visitor to the pod, Paul, isn't too happy with that, and we will get Paul back on to do a bit of a Spursy Chelsea kind of pod, hopefully very soon. He does live in New Zealand, so we've got to make sure we've got to get the timings right, etc., to make that work. But he's keen to get on and talk about all things Spurs, Of course, they've got a new manager, so you know there's a lot to talk about there. But yeah, Poch out of what was available, I know people, you know, talked about the likes of Zidane, etc. People, I don't think any of them would have been an ideal. I'm happy with Poch. He's got Premier League experience. He's used to working with you know, big egos, big name players. He's also, as he showed in his time at Spurs, that he is capable of moulding young players, bringing young players through, integrating them into the team. And we've got a lot of young players in the players that we signed when we went on our spending spree. So yeah, I think he's got a good squad to work with, albeit at the moment it's an inflated squad, and that squad needs to be trimmed. And so that's going to get me onto the topic of our transfers, because obviously in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, we've had a lot of outgoings. So I'm going to cover them first. I'm going to start off with Mason Mount, and I think it's a real shame that we got to a stage with Mason where, you know, we've let him go. I think it's good money. I think for Chelsea it's relatively good business. Clearly he wasn't going to sign a contract with what Chelsea were prepared to offer him. So I do think that, you know, 60 million is what it will come to. I think it's like 55 million, and then add-ons, etc., bring it up to just over 60 million or whatever. So I think that's good money for a player that was, you know, approaching that last year of his contract. So I wish him all the best. I'm not sure many of the other Chelsea fans will, but I do. I think, you know, he did well for us. You know, all the players had an iffy season, and the season just gone. So, you know, I don't really bear any grudges against Mount. I wish him the best at United. Taking on the number 7 shirt at United, that's brave. So we'll see how that goes. You know, his debut against Leeds in the pre-season friendly. Can't really take too much interest in what pre-season friendly results are, etc. But his performance is a bit in and out, to say the least. But we wish him well. You know, he is a very good player, and I hope he can continue and get some good form, because I'm keen to see him still performing in an England shirt. So we need for England's sake as well, we need a good, fully firing Mason Mount in that squad. So that brings me on to Kai Havertz, and it's a funny one with Kai, because I think he's I loved him as a player, but I just didn't really I didn't really see where Kai fitted with the system at Chelsea. He's not a 9. I'm not even sure he's a 10. This is the problem with Kai Havertz. He's a very, very good player, but I'm just really unsure where he fits. And I think Arsenal are going to find that out. And I think we paid around 71 million, I think it was, and we've recouped 65 million. So yeah, again, for the club, I think it's good business, albeit selling to a direct rival, which I'm not particularly happy about. But you know, if they're the ones that are putting the money on the table, then so be it. That's where you've got to take it if you want it. So I wish him well. Always going to be grateful for him scoring the winning goal in the Champions League against Manchester City. Great night. He's a very good player. Kind of hope he doesn't do brilliantly well at Arsenal, if I'm being completely honest, because you know, I'd like to see us getting back initially into the top 4, and then going forward possibly, you know, challenging for honours again, because that's, you know, for the last 20 years that's what we've been used to as fans. So you know, I wish Kai well. Yeah, again, no grudges bared there. He's a good lad, good player. Didn't really kick up much of a fuss, wanting to leave. The money was there, Arsenal wanted it, so off he went. And then we've got 2 players that have gone off to Saudi, in Mendy and Koulibaly. Yeah, again, Mendy's form dipped off a little bit, and you know, the modern way that teams want to play, playing out from the back, goalkeepers have got to be good with their feet. I don't think he was particularly shocking with his feet, but clearly, you know, managers didn't fancy him. Kepa obviously became our number 1 again for the rest of the season. Last season just gone, so it'd be interesting to see what happens now, because clearly we're going to need another keeper in. We're being linked. We was obviously linked with Onana, but it looks like he's going to go and rejoin Ten Hag and join Manchester United. Well, I think they're getting a really good goalkeeper there, you know, quality with his feet. But yeah, you know, Mendy, we've got some money back for him. He's off to Saudi. He's going to earn a fortune, and he's taken Koulibaly with him. So, and obviously Kante has gone out there on a free. But you know, to get money back after the season we had defensively, to get any kind of money back for Koulibaly, and I'm really disappointed because watching him down the years at Napoli, I really liked him as a player, and I thought he would be, when we lost Tony Rudiger to Madrid, and we signed Koulibaly, I thought it was a class signing. I really did. So I'm really disappointed that Koulibaly's not lived up. The whole thing that he took JT's shirt, and the whole thing that they played out with him, you know, calling JT in the car saying, "Oh, can I take your number?" and all that. I really, really wished it would work out. And you know, he should have been a player that would have been suited to the Premier League. You know, big, fast, strong. But it didn't work out. We look very vulnerable with him in the team. So that's that. I've got a fly attacking me. I've got pardon my language. But yeah, it is what it is. So Koulibaly's gone. Now one I don't get from both perspectives is Kovacic to Man City. Now he's a very, very good player. And of course they've lost Gundogan on a free, so they would have needed a bit of backup in midfield. But I didn't really see Kovacic being a Pep kind of player, because he's all action, box to box. Probably maybe I'm doing him a disservice, but probably lacks a little bit of finesse. But yeah, still a good player. I mean, he's been really good for us. We signed him just before we got the transfer ban, obviously, and the deal was agreed, 40 million, which at the time I thought was probably a bit too much. But that, he's given us some really good years, really good player. I wish him all the best at City. Yeah, again, same with Kai. Not too much success, but we'll see how that goes. Another one we've lost as well is Ruben. Ruben's gone to Italy. He's taken Pulisic with him as well. So yeah, again, I just think there's so much loss of potential in Ruben, and I know the injuries haven't helped him down the years, and he's shown some real glimpses of the player he can be, and I really hope it works out for him. I hope he can stay fit, and really, I think he could do well in Italy. I think the kind of skill set that he's got and style of play, I could see him being a really, really top class sort of like holding stroke box to box midfielder, like a 6 or an 8 out there, and I think he'll do really well. So yeah, wish him all the best. Pulisic yet again, after he had the bad injury, I don't think he ever really came back the same. So I'm not really that disheartened that he's going or gone, because he's actually signed now. So and the money, the money's good, 20 odd million. I know we paid a lot of money for him, but I think it was like 58 million when we bought him from Dortmund, and I don't think we've ever really seen the best of him. So I think that's a bit of a missed opportunity, but it is what it is. He goes with good wishes. So there's one young player actually that I'd like to mention. I think it's maybe a little bit of a shame, but with young players, obviously, with the kind of money that the owners are throwing around on signings, I do think it's actually going to be quite difficult for some young players to break through into the first team squad. So I can fully understand him not signing a new contract and moving on. So Duane Sterling off to Rangers. I think it's a good move for him. I think he can really grow in the SPL and hone his craft. And I wish him all the best there. Another one that we're losing, I think if I remember rightly, it's end of contract and whatnot, is Bakayoko, and what a flop that has been. I mean, we signed him, a very, very promising young French midfielder at the time when we signed him from Monaco. I mean, they just ripped up the Champions League, and they'd stopped PSG's domination of Liga 1, and and he was one of the leading lights in that current Monaco team, and they had some really good players, and he was one of the standout midfielders for sure. And I thought we were getting a real class player, but it just hasn't worked at all. In fact, he probably would go down for me as one of Chelsea's worst signings of all time. But that's the end of it. We've recouped quite a lot of money back over the years in loan fees, so it is what it is. So he's gone. Young Fofana has also gone out on loan. So wish him all the best. I don't think he would be, I think he could be a good one for the future. Um, but I think a loan move for him is the right thing for him right now. So I'm pleased to see that he's going to get some minutes and hopefully come back a better forward. And you think when we've got like in the future we could have Fofana, Broja, if we can keep hold of them, let them have their loans, etc. I think that will be profitable for us going forward. If they don't break into the first team, they'll be worth a good amount of money for future transfer fees. And if they do come good, they come back to the club, and they can break into the first team, then brilliant. You saved yourself an absolute fortune on transfers. So that's them two. We had a couple of players whose loans have ended. Most notably, Zakaria and João Felix. I think João Felix is a real big missed opportunity. I'm not quite sure why Poch wouldn't fancy having a João Felix around the team. Because looking at the way PSG played under Poch, the way Spurs played under Poch, I could see the way Felix would fit into that, but clearly not. And it's Poch's squad, and he wants his players, his types of players, and he obviously didn't see that João Felix would be that. But I think that's a missed opportunity. And the last one I want to speak about in terms of players that have left the club. There's a saying that we have on one of our signs around Stamford Bridge, and it's captain, leader, legend, and this absolutely doesn't just apply to John Terry. Cesar Azpilicueta, or as we came to know him fondly down the years, even if he maybe didn't like it, Dave. But what a player he's been for us. And I know maybe the legs of, I've criticised him a little bit over the last sort of like year or so, 18 months. The legs have gone a bit and whatnot, but you cannot question the commitment of Azpilicueta to this club, to our club. Phenomenal player on the pitch down the years, and an absolute pro on and off it. Gave his all, cared, and I think as a fan, what you want from a player coming in when they sign for a club, and they grow with you and you grow with them, is that the fact that you want to see that a player cares and that they're gonna absolutely die for the shirt. And I don't think you can get a better example of that than Azpilicueta. I wish him all the best at Atletico. He's joining a good team with a great manager in Simeone. And they've got a lot on their hands to break down the Barcelona Real Madrid monopoly. And I wish them all the best. I wish him all the best. So we're going to move on to players that have come in. And we've got two notable signings through the door at the moment, which was Nkunku, which was a long-standing agreement with RB Leipzig to get that done. It finally got done, so we've got our man. I really like Nkunku, everything I've seen of him. And I know he's had a few injury problems this last sort of season or so, and hopefully, those will be behind him. But he's a really exciting player for me, and he can play anywhere across the front line. So for those that haven't really, I think he's on about 10 caps or so, 10, 12 caps now for France as well. He's quick, he's dynamic, great touch. He can play, like I say, he can play anywhere across that front line. False nine, wide positions. So I think it's a really exciting player. And if you pair him with maybe a traditional sort of like number 9, target man type player through the middle, then I think it's really exciting with the players that we've got, Mudryk, Madueke, Sterling still. We've got a lot of good attacking talent. And if Poch can mould those into, we could have a real fearsome attacking unit and some good players to back them up off the bench as well with some youngsters, etc. And another one of those youngsters is what we signed in Jackson. He's had a good year out in Spain, 12 goals. I think he finished with a few assists and that as well. Yet again, dynamic player, quick, can play anywhere across the front line, can play through the middle as a striker, can play off either flank. Can drop deep, get involved in a play. So I think I can kind of see where we're going with this because, I think he's hedging his bets. If we get a 9 in, or he could persuade Lukaku if things can be mended with Lukaku or whatever, and he ends up staying. I can kind of see where all these players could fit in and around, a big centre forward type player. I can also see where you would go if we don't get one of them through the door, where you can go with false 9 and a real fluid rotating front 3 with a creative playmaker sat in behind them. So I get where we're going with that, and it's going to be interesting over the next a few weeks to see what kind of players do come in. I think we do need a bit of cover at right back for Reece. Hopefully we can get Reece fully fit, and Poch is really good at getting players fully firing and fully fit. As long as we don't, apologies Paul, as long as we don't go all Spursy and burn out before the end of the season, if we have a good season, then that would be a great thing. But Poch is renowned in his training methods, particularly through pre-season, of really, really like drilling into players and getting them really, really fit and firing. And of course, because of having such a poor season, we're coming off the back of not having to play any kind of European football. So I think that in itself will be an advantage. Players will get a bit of a break and a rest every now and then. So it'd be interesting to see how we go. Last time we had a really crap season, ironically, the following season we went on and won the league. That's a tough ask because, City are an incredible team, incredible squad, incredible manager, incredible forward, incredible everywhere really. So they're tough. They're the team that everyone's chasing down, and I think initially let's secure ourselves comfortably in towards that top 6, and then have we need to have a real push for top 4. I don't think with the kind of money we've invested already, I don't think a club in terms of FFP etc. Can afford to be out of the Champions League for too long and everything that comes with that. So that's where I'm at with Chelsea. It was a disappointing season, but we've been there before as fans. The club bounces back. Albeit the new owners, their intentions have been great. They're prepared to spend money, etc., and bring in players. We've seen that, but maybe a little bit misguided about how they've done it. We have got more new sporting directors and all that involved now, so hopefully we'll be in a position where better deals get done, better players get recruited, with better scouting, and we look forward to a new season. So yeah, I know this is only a short episode, etc., but I am on my own. It was just about getting back for one, getting back into the swing of things, and so I thought, do you know what? Let's get motivated. Let's get the podcast back, and I really appreciate everyone reaching out and saying, come on, you've got to do another pod. And the likes of my good friend Andy. I know he's keen to come on and talk Manchester United, so we'll get that arranged as well. And like I mentioned before, Paul is desperate to get on and talk about Spurs and many other aspects of what's been going on in football as well. So we're going to be doing that. We look forward to a new season. I know this has been a very short season 3, and maybe not so much an ideal way that you would go out with a season finale, but it's nice to be back, and it's nice to be back talking football. So we'll be back. Well, we'll be back. We will. And I'm going to drag some guests and friends along with me. So for all those that are watching on TikTok now, and for anyone that listens to this now on whatever platform, get in contact with the show. We have all the social medias. So we have the Instagram, which is Talk Football Podcast. That's all you got to search up for. Also, in the links that you'll find wherever you listen to it, you'll find the links on the link tree, which will get you to every aspect of every place that we interact with you. And it's all about that interaction. So, and it ain't just for me, not just about Chelsea. It ain't just about the Premier League. I like to talk about all aspects of football. So it doesn't matter where you're from, whether you want to talk, Championship, League One, League Two, Conference, anything. If there's fans listening to this and you're listening from, I know we've got I don't know how, I don't know why, but we've got quite a lot of listeners in America. So if you guys want to come on, message, we'll get on, we'll talk about your clubs in the MLS and how you're going, because, you've got some exciting new signings out there. So, Inter Miami are pulling up trees, they're signing the players they've signed. So let's talk about football from all over the world. So that's me, your host, Hodgie. Thank you for joining me on this Chelsea-inspired, very short Season 3 finale. We will be back before the start of the new season, and I'm going to try and make a commitment that we're going to get at least one podcast out a month, and I'll make those podcasts that little bit longer than what we would normally do, because we normally do around about 45 minutes, etc. So I'm going to try. I'll push them up. We'll make them about an hour. So because I know you guys like listening to the show, and you have missed us. So yeah, again, can't thank you enough for the support and messages that have come through asking about when we're back and what we're going to be talking about. So that's me, Hodgie. Well, thank you very much for listening to me on my own on the Talk Football podcast. Thank you for everyone on TikTok for joining and sending the likes and the gifts. I really appreciate that. You don't have to do that, but I appreciate it nonetheless. So we'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much.